I'm Dave with Davo Customs. In this video, you guys are going to see a little bit about my business and love for classic cars and trucks. We're at my body shop, Carl's Collision. This is where I run my custom shop out of, Davo Customs. The body shop's been here for like a little bit over 20 years. Born and raised here, and this place has been here like my entire life. It's the body shop. Since I was 14, 15, I've always played with cars and paint, and I've always wanted, to ultimately own a body shop. I went to college and I did that whole route. This is where things, get interesting. Yeah. While I was in college, I went to spring break to the Florida Keys one year. And while I was there was this big sign, big piece of plywood. The keys are a little bit different. It's like going back into time. But there it said, body shop, looking for help. I was like, no way. So this was a Friday afternoon. And we had a snorkel trip scheduled from 12 to 3. So I knew this was the last day of the vacation, or we're leaving, Saturday. So I had to get there before 5 o'clock. And I don't know if y'all know, like, the Keys, body shops, but 5 o'clock at a body shop, you're out of there. So we get back from the snorkel trip, and I kind of like round my buddies up. I'm like, hey, drive me to this body shop. So I go in, I showed them some pictures of some Harleys I used to, flames and marble paint and candy and all that type of stuff. And he said, well, if you can do that, you can work here. So 11 days later, I was living in Key Largo, and I stayed for 5 years. So other than the hot rods and stuff, the main focus is I have a auto body collision shop. 99% of the work, other than my personal stuff, is collision work, all insurance work. With that being said, I have access to a lot of good tools, that I wouldn't normally have. We have a downdraft, paint booth. Here's an alignment machine. This is hubcap right here. He's putting a bedside on this Duramax truck. This is my 1970s split bunker Camaro. Everything about it's a little bit different. It has slick paint, it has a small block, a stroker small block. Most of my stuff, fuel injected. It's gonna be show car nice. It's all, the inner fenders are all fully, painted and clear coated. Color is a color that I made myself. I knew I wanted it dark green, gold, have a flop. I wanted it to be like something nobody's ever seen before. And when I tell you I made hundreds of spray outs, I literally made hundreds of spray outs. I went ahead and color matched the firewall under the windshield, the cowl. I went to North Carolina, like the tri-state area, and bought this car. It's funny, when I got home with it, my brother looked at it and he's like, that's not a big block. I was like, well, so it was a pleasant surprise that it was actually a 396 small block stroker, and it rips. It's like a 2-stroke dirt bike. It's an absolute riot to drive. We get 4 deep in it, do like big smoky burnouts. So I'm telling you, I cannot wait for this thing to be back together. This is an OBS that we're building. This is for CK Truck Magazine. We're working with Arnie at OBS Racing. We're waiting on the chassis. Once that's ready, we'll put the cab on, do like the final fit and finish with the fenders and everything, start getting some color on it. We had some big plans for this. This is gonna be a little bit of a surprise. I will tell you that majority of the main color is gonna be gloss black. It's gonna be a mile deep. But I have a little something custom planned for the center. That's gonna be another custom color that I build. The Keys trip ended with Hurricane Irma. So I come home, 3 years have gone by now, and always the main focus has been the collision side. Carl's Collision Center, that's what we are. The better that, works and the smoother that gets, gives me more time, to work on the hot rods and the custom side of things. I know you can talk about stuff as much as you want, but until you build stuff, you know, and until people can see it, then it doesn't really matter. So I've been literally working as hard as I can for the last like 3 years, building these trucks and cars and the rowdy rig, and I'm telling you, I can see it now. That's the roundabout way, like really how we got here. Well, this is a 67 Camaro. It's a first gen. It came from Mississippi. I hunted for it day and night for a real long time, and I found pretty much exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for a gold one, and luckily enough found one. It's a long-term project because I want it to ideally be like perfect when it's finished. Has lots of good parts. Has a Scott's hot rod front subframe. It's going to have a SpeedTech torque arm, LS3 TKX, big brakes, all the good stuff. Whenever I bought it, it was 100% original, untouched. On the internet, you'll see like the serial number 1 Camaro, and whenever you look into it, it's exactly like this car. I probably took apart a rare car, I don't even know it. But like literally down to the hubcaps and everything, it still has like most of the stuff, like the way it came. I found it on Marketplace. A gentleman told me, he was probably in his 70s. He told me to do about the car like every story for his whole life, and he's tried to buy it forever and it never happened. Ultimately, he bought this estate. He told me he had to buy 9 cars to get this one, and it was the only one that was like, you know, nice. So he had to buy a bunch of junk to get it. Once we made a deal, I told him I wanted it, and he literally brought it to me, you know, just on our word. So that was pretty cool. I sent Robbie a picture earlier of what he brought it up here on. He built a mid-60s rollback. He brought it on that. Really nice guy. The next is we're gonna put the rear end in it. I'm gonna measure for the wheels. So once I get the rear end in it, we can measure the front, order a set of wheels. That'll probably take, you know, a couple months. While we're waiting on that, I hope to get the electrical, the wiring, everything dialed in. So realistically, you know, next spring, I like to debut it, be driving it.
Did you mention what wheels you're going with?
I'm gonna go with Forge Lines.
Yeah.
I really believe what they stand for. By far, in my opinion, like the best product to, you know, put on race cars, these classics. This is the one that started it all. I guess it's been a little, like right at like exactly 3 years, like literally 3 years now. I've always had a bunch of trucks and the passion and love, and you know, people just know about that. So I walked into the parts store that we go to every day, and the gentleman said, "Hey, I found a truck for you." And we all know how this goes. But he said, "I found a 65 V8 automatic with air conditioner." And I was like, yeah. So long story short, he gave me a guy's number. I called him. The owner told me the exact same thing. So I was like, man, I need to see this thing. I said, just please send me a picture of, you know, each side, the inside, and under the hood. Never heard another word for days, like 2 or 3 days. I thought it was weird because, you know, it's super nice on the phone. But simultaneously, when I was talking to this guy, the rowdy rig popped up on Marketplace. And like, we all know that's where my heart's at. So when I found the rowdy rig, I didn't even think about this anymore. Me and a buddy would drive to Indiana, buy the rowdy rig, drive it back. That was a totally different adventure. On the way back from getting the rowdy rig, my phone dings. I opened it up, and it was pictures of this truck, like the most OG barn find, covered in moss, yada yada. So my heart starts beating like, you know, like buck fever. And I was like, I need to get to this. Long story short, I went out, saw the truck, made a deal with the guy. We agreed on a price, and then he said, well, I'll have to think about it. And I was like, oh my God. A couple days later, he called me, and I brought it home. This is the first one. I didn't know how to do all this, and you know, it's really intimidating until you get your head wrapped around it. So my brother says, hey man, Level 7 has a chassis for sale for that truck. You know, and I just bought the rowdy rig and this. I had a lot going on, and like, it never crossed my mind to like look at this Level 7 chassis. I was just like no way. So 3 or 4 days go by and he's like, did you look at that chassis? And I was like, dude, I'm not like calling Level 7 and ordering a chassis. So I get on their Facebook. I hadn't hardly heard of these guys at this time because I was like real new to it. Dude, they had this chassis of this truck that they took out from underneath another truck that they were building. Radiator to fuel tank, air ride, AccuAir, Rick stainless fuel tank, LS, all the good parts. And the price was just like literally too good to be true. So I went and bought it, and the time of year was like exactly this time, right before C10 Nationals. So we went and to Illinois, and I bought the chassis from Jesse, and in a matter of like 2 or 3 weeks, we took apart the stock truck and put it on to the new chassis, rewired it and everything. Literally built the bed to the point that it is now. It was like the first Thrash build, which we've done a bunch since then. But I test drove it one time, about a quarter of a mile down the road and back. I put it on the chassis. I couldn't like chills thinking about it. And the very first time I really drove the truck was under the tunnel at the Nashville Super Speedway at the first C10 Nationals. It was like killer. I had Skiff with me. We parked it like right at the entrance of the Midway. And I'll really tell you that this truck here is like the one that started it all. This one like won't ever go anywhere. That's like my staple. Anybody that knows me knows that I love like a good deal. Yeah, it don't matter what it is. If it's a good enough deal, I'm into it. So I was at a car show one day and a gentleman had this seat in his truck and he was talking about getting rid of it. I couldn't believe it. Made by Phil Cato Customs, whatever. Real leather, everything. I love it. It's so comfortable. Nothing fancy, but like I said, it is an LS. This truck is extremely solid. Like, you know, the fenders, it's totally original, and I have everything. The jack, both the original rods, the cardboard around the fuel tank. The gentleman that owned it, it was practically a one-owner truck its entire life until, you know, it swapped tanks 2 or 3 times in, you know, a couple of years. A gentleman, one county over, he owned a funeral home. And the story is, he bought the truck so he could ride around country roads and smoke cigarettes because his wife wouldn't allow that at home. Basically, a businessman owned the truck, and I assume that's why it's in like as good a shape, you know, no dents or anything. And it actually still has like some vintage cigarette butts in the ashtray, which I have to keep for the story. But I haven't done anything to it since we built it the first time. I've driven it on the Power Tour twice. Any of the car shows, like it's dependable, get in, drive. That one there has like a real special place to me. This one here, this is totally different than anything else I've done. We just got back from LS Fest, year 4 with truck number 4, so we've been busy, and they always get better. This one has good parts on it, and I think anytime you bolt that many good parts to anything, it turns out killer. Try to do like the best of the best, you know, of everything we could. I like stuff that's a little different. I like learning new stuff. LT1, I had a BTR 220 cam put in it. It has a Holley mid-mount. The power steering, alternator's been upgraded on that. Turn 1 power steering, Power Master alternator. I did swap it to a drive-by cable throttle body. In the race car world, I think it's just a little more simple, less to go wrong. It has a TR6060 6-speed. I use a lot of the Level 7 stuff because it just makes it easier. Their pedals, all my trucks have them. I had Jesse spec everything. Like I said, it has the best of the best. Anything that could be upgraded has been. Practical reasons, it's a race car built on a stock chassis. I did tons of tube work, chassis work, and I just enjoy that. I literally think I enjoy working on them as much as driving them because that's what I spend all my time doing. I believe in, you know, fully building them, driving them, beating on them, letting whatever breaks break, and then when you know it's dependable and it runs and all the hard work's done, then we're gonna take it fully back apart, paint the chassis something real pretty, and put it back together the last time. This truck came from Illinois, so it had like a little bit of rust, what we call like solid rust, the good patina. All the engine bay and everything's been done already on this one. It's all gloss black. As far as like performance type stuff, it has a DeWitt's radiator. It's USA made. You can't go wrong with those for the price, the function, and especially, you know, made in America. It has a no limits wide ride front suspension, and everything's like been upgraded on it. the rack, the shocks. I'm running Viking coilovers, a double adjustable, all wheelwood brakes. It has a 14-inch front, 6 pistons. This is a forge line wheels. They're 18-inch, 12.5 inches wide. Something you don't see a lot that I actually got exposed to at SEMA last year are these Kenda tires. They're huge like in the drift world. They're huge in the race car world. They're not huge in the truck world. People don't know about them. They're for the price, they're race car tires. I always believe that you're better off with like a new set of good cheap tires than an expensive set of old wore out tires. It does have a Holley pan on it with a baffle. Not a lot of people know about those, and it's most definitely necessary, you know, autocrossing, road racing, that type of stuff, because you're pushing to the extreme. So any help you can get, especially for a few $100, like, it's a no-brainer. These are super cool. This is Infinite Fab's seat brackets. They use 3 of the factory holes. You only have to drill 1 hole. They also have a harness bar. This truck is eventually gonna get a cage, but everything else is made just to bolt right to it. These are an inexpensive seat that actually comes off Amazon. Relatively generic as far as the seat tracks, but the Infinite Fab guys, they have like 2 inches on both sides, the full length. So practically any seat you can imagine would bolt to it. TR6060 transmission, they're bigger than a T56 Magnum, so you need more floor room. I use a high hump AMD, you know, I ordered it through Jesse, but it solved all my problems. And I can promise you that if it worked on this one, it's not working on a T56 or anything. It has a quick performance, floater rear end, all wheelwood brakes back there, and no limit fat bar kit. Viking shocks as well. Check out this bumper. I always love these. I just think they're cool. I like them when they have the dealer bumpers on them.
If you were speaking to yourself 3 years ago and you just bought this 65, or maybe you just locked on to this Camaro, what would you tell yourself about what you might be able to achieve in those 3 years?
So the biggest thing that I probably learned in the 3 years of building, you know, a better part of a dozen trucks is don't get caught up. Like, I like to know the end goal. This orange and white race truck, I knew it was going to look exactly like that from the very beginning. Knowing like where you want to go and not buying springs twice. And because I've taken some other trucks, my OBS red and gold Merlot race truck, and it was a lowrider. And I, you know, had all the Beltec stuff, all the 4.6 stuff, yada yada. Then I changed it, and now I had to put another set of spindles, you know, on the front. So you can get caught up in a lot of time and money, you know, doing stuff twice. Moving forward, if I was to give anybody advice, is order one part at a time. If you're doing an LS swap and the motor's not in the truck yet, buy the motor mounts, put it in the truck. If it doesn't run because you don't have a fuel tank, put the fuel tank in it. Don't order $20,000 worth of parts to let sit on a shelf for a year. I'm telling you, because I've done it. So, you know, one thing at a time, and don't rush it. Don't have like an unrealistic goal. That's where like the stress comes in, or you have stuff that's halfway finished. And I'm telling you, because I know I got a collection of them. The roadkill guys say, don't let, you know, perfection stop production. I'm a firm believer. Get it running and driving so you can enjoy it. Anything running and driving is better than on the jack stands. I would take anything, you know, and enjoy it over a project that never ends. We all seen those. Thank you for watching. We've got more videos coming up. If you like what you've seen, like, subscribe, share. We'll catch you next time.